when you come into Bristol on the M32, have you noticed the big digital advertising board by the side of the road? They've gone up relatively recently. They're proving controversial already, though. Today, the UK has its first ever anti-advertising conference. It's being held in Bristol. Robbie Gillett is from the group Adblock Bristol, who are organising
Adblock Bristol want to see an end to outdoor advertising because we think it undermines our mental health, our well-being, and our environment. A lot of the products that we see advertised on billboards, like junk food, new cars, fast fashion, we say, actually, we don't really need to be seeing adverts for a lot of these things. And actually, a lot of those products are actively harming us. And we don't need these billboards in our public spaces because they change and sort of denigrate our neighbourhoods and where we live.
That's Robbie Gillett from Adblock Bristol. They've organised the UK's first ever anti-advertising conference happening at the Trinity Centre in Old Market in Bristol. Someone who's going to be attending is an anti-advertising campaigner from France, Renaud Fossard, who is opposite me now. Good morning. Thank you for coming into BBC Radio Bristol.
Thank you very much.
I'm sorry about the weather on your visit, you know.
That was expected.
You come from Paris, I believe. Is that correct?
Indeed.
Right. And why have you come to Bristol for the conference?
Why did I come? Well, to participate in this pretty big event. We are very happy from France to see that happening. I work with this NGO in France called RAP, for Resistance to Advertising Aggression, and we are now a national NGO. It was born in 1992, so it's a pretty old NGO, and we have 28 local groups in all the country. So we are very happy to see Adblock Bristol to develop, and we wish that in a few months, few years from now, it's going to be a national NGO with a lot of local groups too.
What is the comparison? What is it like in France compared to England in terms of things like outdoor advertising? I mean, I appreciate you've not been here very long, perhaps in Bristol, but what's it like in France compared to here, if you know?
Well, I have to put it straight. It's worse in UK about outdoor advertising. I've been to Manchester before and to London, and the size of the billboards are just like much bigger, and basically the advertising pressure in terms of outdoor advertising it's bigger too. So we have to remind that basically advertising market is much bigger than outdoor advertising. It's like something around 25 billions a year, and outdoor advertising is a few billions, but still that's the only one you cannot avoid, you know. I consult media without advertising. I have Adblock on my computer, but I cannot deal with outdoor advertising. And in UK, the size of the panel, you know, the video screen also, we don't have much yet in France, but they're arriving. But in here, there are a lot.
But what is wrong with it? I mean, why do we need groups like yourself and Adblock to tell us that we can't see advertising? Why is it bad for us?
Well, that's coming to the political analysis, but basically I think there is an emerging consensus with the fact that we're going to need to change, right? We have a big climate crisis coming on. We know that our big consumer society cannot be sustainable anymore, and we do know that advertising helps us to consume. That's not just an intuition or ideological, it's empirical economics. So when we reduce the advertising pressure, we reduce the overconsumption. And we need to do that because consuming is producing, is extracting natural resources.
But it's not just about the climate emergency in inverted commas, it's also to do with things like obesity, because Robbie mentioned things like fast food companies. But advertising doesn't always work, does it? I mean, at the end of the day, it's personal choice. What you eat, what you wear, what you drive. You don't have to take notice of the adverts on the screen.
That's been an old debate, right, about our free will in all this. And the thing is out, let's not talk about manipulation. That's right. We are not, easy to manipulate, but still it's influence, and we have to resist influence. And like every day we get signals, and it does influence our purchase behavior, as well our citizen behavior and our values. So obviously it's not like we see one ad and we run to the shop to buy, but it's like we receive thousands of commercial stimuli every day, and we have to fight in our body, in our mind, in our soul with all this. And it's not fair that we have to fight for this. We haven't asked for that.
Out of interest, I don't know where you've been. I wasn't sure what you knew about England for a start, but you've said it's worse here than in France. What about in other parts of Europe that you visited? How does Bristol compare to other cities in Europe in terms of advertising? Is it worse here than others, in your opinion?
My feeling, that's not a scientific comparison.
No, I understand. I get that.
Basically, I would say that in Anglo-Saxon country, there are more ads, right? You go to Spain, you go to Italy, there are, but speaking about outdoor advertising, there are no these very big panels, big billboards, or there are not yet these video screens. The video screens are really aggressive. We were talking about the capacity of advertising to influence us. The video screen, they just talk directly to your reptilian mind, a brain. You have to, when you come over next to a video screen, you have to give a look to it. And I don't remind seeing them in Madrid, in Rome, while in the US or in UK, it's huge. Then I've been living in the country of Peru, in Latin America, and traveling a lot over there. It's true that in developing countries, generally speaking, it's very wild too. Yes.
But this event has had to be advertised. Okay, not on a big billboard necessarily, but the message has got to get there somewhere. It may well have got into someone's consciousness unwittingly, and maybe they didn't want to hear this message that you're promoting today. What's the difference?
It's very important to communicate and to let people know what's going on. It's all about who is communicating. Big brands, big multinational, big corporation, or NGOs, or citizens. I don't know the figure because I don't think they're available in UK, but I can tell you that in France, we have 4 million companies in France, right? Only 20,000 of them are participating into the advertising market. This is less than 1%. And within these 20,000 companies, only 600 cover 80% of the market. So basically, you have 600 big corporate brands that are advertising their products.
So do you know of any properly grounded research or evidence, maybe academic evidence, to back up your claim that the advertising is bad for us? Is there anything that's concrete to tell us that?
Well, the thing is that my job is to run a research program with independent universitarians to do a consolidated report about advertising issues. So we digged into the economics, but not only, indeed, in the psychological and behavioral studies also, cultural studies also, but the big deal is about economics. We do know that in the US, advertising market helped the consumption to increase by 6% for the 3 past decades.
Right.
6% is also gas emission. We have to think in terms of climate issue too.
Now, this is the first of its kind being hosted in Bristol. Are there more conferences like this in France?
Not really. We've done a big conference last year that was very academical. The value added, I think, of the conference that is going to take place today in the Trinity Center is that it's going to gather various kind of people, activists, new people, just citizens that are interested in the issue, and it's very accessible to everybody because there are various kind of experience. We're going to talk about that city in France, Grenoble, that where the mayor decided to remove almost all of the outdoor advertising, and now they're going to run for the coming election in the beginning of 2020, and it looks like they're going to win, so it's a very good experience.
Yeah, because Grenoble is the example where they have banned outdoor advertising, and it'd be very interesting to see how that develops. Well, enjoy the rest of your stay in Bristol. When do you leave?
On Monday.
So you'll be here for about 5 days in total. So
yes.
Well, enjoy the rest of the stay. Thank you for coming in to see us so early.
Thank you very much.
Renaud Fossard, the anti-advertising campaigner from France, who's in Bristol at the first ever in the UK anti-advertising conference at the Trinity Centre in Old Market.
The weekend. I'm already shaking and moving.